Hello, and welcome back to Jen and Dan's Natural Healing with Plants. I am Jen, your holistic educator, coach, and master herbalist, and I'm here with Dan.
Hey, I'm Dan, your exercise specialist and fellow master herbalist. Today we're diving into a topic that stirs up a lot of discussion in the health community. The whole food plant-based diet versus the paleo ancestry diet.
Yes. Yeah, so, it's funny. So I do say I'm whole food plant-based, but I don't really define it in terms of other things. So the more I dive into these other things, examining, living foods diet, keto diet, paleo diet, zone, all of those things. I mean, do we really need a label? You can just eat whole foods. We prefer whole food plant-based, and maybe you don't need a label on there. But there's so many people that are just this is the right way. This is the way people ate traditionally. And this is what we need to do. And so let's look into this a little bit more. So, can you give us a brief overview of whole food plant-based?
Yes, I mean, the way we teach it, I teach 100% whole food plant-based, but there are some shady areas in there where some doctors say you can have 5 to 10% animal products. That would be Dr. Fearman, the one who says that. I don't particularly agree with that because even that little bit can still leave you with some inflammation in the body. So we focus on fruits and vegetables, nuts and seeds, whole grains, legumes, lentils, which are in the legume family. And I focus on a low fat version, and I try to make sure I get a lot of fiber. And I don't eat any oils or anything. I don't cook with oil. I don't eat oil unless I eat out. It's kind of impossible, but I don't eat out very much. So what's your take on it, Jennifer?
Yeah, so same thing. Very little oils and foods as close to the way they are out in nature. So, eating an apple versus applesauce, though I do like applesauce and put it in some things sometimes. So apple is a whole food. Applesauce is a minimally processed food. An apple pancake, highly processed food. And so I try to eat them as close to their whole as possible. Like with beans, I do cook them. I sprout them and then cook them. And so either way, but I do eat them as close to the way they came in nature, and I only eat plants. I don't eat any animal products because of inflammation, because of my history with autoimmune disease. And even if you look at like Chris Work, Chris beat cancer. If you're not familiar with him, he even said, when he went through he had stage 4 cancer. When he went through that, he did not eat any animal products at all. Now that he is strong, healthy, I don't remember how long he's been
Oh, it's been about 20
cancer
years, I
free.
think.
Yeah, I was thinking that too. Now he does add a little bit of fish occasionally. And so what I've read in my studies is if you do include animal products, it should just be as a condiment,
Yep.
like they do in Japan. And so it's just a little bit. It's mostly vegetables or plants with very little meat. So talk a little bit about the paleo diet.
Well, the paleo diet these days is basically, from what we research, it's kind of like a low carb diet. It's heavy on animal foods. And one of the problems I have with this is they're trying to tell you that that's how our ancestors ate. They want you to believe that our ancestors ate a lot of meat. And it's not true because, first of all, if you think they ate a lot of meat, you probably have never been a hunter because it is really hard to go in the woods and kill an animal every day. It's pretty impossible. I used to be a hunter and
Mhm.
I never killed anything. And look, I had a gun, but these people had spears and bow and arrows. So you believe they killed something every single day. If you look at the science now, they're showing that the Paleolithic man, his diet was about 80% plants, which makes more sense to me because they would starve to death if they had to rely on hunting alone.
Right.
So
Yeah,
now
look
it's
at
showing that they ate. Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, say look at the big cats. That we know the big cats are carnivores and they hunt, but they can go days without a kill. And so to say that people ate meat 3 times a day is saying that they could hunt better than a lion. Right. Right. And as you
Yeah,
said, with spears without even guns. Right.
yeah. So it's a farce. That's one, one problem I have with it, because if it wasn't for plants, we would not be here, because our ancestors would have died from starvation. Okay, so archaeology has found that a lot of these people, they lived on berries and tubers, which are potatoes and whatever grew at that time, but they were plant heavy eaters, like
Right.
we should be.
Right.
The diet they teach now, they want you to eat mostly meat, and it's just not good for your health. I don't, you may disagree, but you're wrong. It's just, if you look at the research now, if you eat a diet that is very high in meat, you're going to have inflammation. You're going to have, it's going to be more likely to develop heart disease or diabetes or even cancer. So we teach, if you just won't give up meat, like Jennifer was saying earlier, use it as a condiment, like the Japanese, and they're much healthier than we are overall, because they don't eat 1 pound steaks every day.
Right. Right. And meat just as a condiment, like we said. Yeah.
Mhm.
And, the more we learn about the microbiome and what's going on in our microbiome and in our gut, all the microbes, the bacteria and the viruses, and we have good ones and we have quote unquote bad ones. They're all in there. There's even archaea, which is something new they've been talking about. All these different microbes feed on fiber. And so we have to give them fiber, and fiber is not found in plants. You may have, a chewy piece of meat stuck in your teeth and you think it's fibrous. That's muscle tissue. That's not the same type of fiber. That doesn't grow the bacteria that you need in your gut and that you need for a smooth digestive system, so that you're going to the bathroom every time you eat. Hear that again. You should go to the bathroom every time you eat, just like a baby or a puppy. You feed them and then they have to go out. That's how we should be. And we need to eat those not eat the animal products, eat the plant products and the fiber, to make that happen. And so other things that we get in our plants, like if you look at fruits, those bright colors and vegetables, we need all those bright colors. They all provide different vitamins and minerals and phytonutrients that we're learning more and more about and how important they are. Mostly when I look at fruits, I think of vitamins. They're high in lots of different vitamins, especially vitamin C. And then we look at our dark leafy greens and our vegetables. That's where we get all of our minerals, and like the tubers, like you were talking about. Now they are grown where they are much starchier and sweeter. They keep, crossbreeding them to create a sweeter product. But many, many years ago, when they would dig them up, they weren't as starchy, but they did get wonderful minerals from those root vegetables. And we need to eat root vegetables as well to feed our microbiome. And then we need different types of fiber. We need soluble fiber and we need insoluble fiber. So we need a kind like in beans. If you've ever cooked some beans and then you let them cool and you get kind of a jelly-like substance on top of the beans, that is the soluble fiber. That's the same thing in like chia seeds or okra, that slime. We need those kinds of fiber to coat our intestines to help with repairing and healing and slowing the absorption of nutrients. And then we need the other kind of fiber, the fiber like if you're chewing kale and it has that kind of stiff stem. We can't fully break that down. We need that kind of fiber too to bulk things up, to make things move quickly through our body system. So those don't come in animal products. We need those to help with our digestion, to help us with absorbing all these vitamins and minerals that we can't get from animal products.
Yeah, there's a doctor that he studies all this. He has found that people who eat a diet that is high in meat, their gut bacteria they have a lot more bad gut bacteria than the good kind. And so this leads to inflammation and other diseases. So I saw a study, this was very interesting. They took people from Africa, and they took African Americans from America. And so the African Americans from America were eating a diet very high in meat. So they were starting to show signs, they're doing cell cultures on their intestines. And so the Americans were already showing signs of colon cancer. So the Africans from Africa, they were eating more of a plant-based diet. They didn't have any signs of colon cancer. So they switched diets. They gave the Americans the African diet and they gave the Africans the American diet. So after a few weeks, the Africans started to show signs of colon cancer, and the Americans, their colon cancer started to regress. So it goes to show you a meat heavy diet, there's so many downsides, even cancer, like we were talking about, cancer and heart disease. We're designed to eat mostly plants. It's just a fact now, and that's what we teach because we care about our clients. We want you to be healthy,
Right.
and the way to do it is eat a variety of plants.
Right. Right. Yeah. So we also need to talk about, I forgot where I was going.
Let's see. Some potential downsides of the paleo compared to the whole food plant-based. We kind of cover that part about the paleo. It's too high in meat and saturated fat. This is the saturated fat and cholesterol is the driver of heart disease. And you don't have to take our word for it. You can look up doctors, Dr. Esselstyn, Dr. McDougall, Dr. Fearman. They'll all set you straight. They're more detail than we give on this short podcast. So that's one of the problems. And heart disease is still no more killer. So we need to make sure we're getting more plants, more soluble fiber to help protect our heart as well.
Yeah, well, and the paleo diet excludes grains and beans
Mm.
too. And so for me, that's huge.
Yeah, that's a problem because whole grains have a lot of nutrients that we need, and so do the beans, and it has the fiber. I don't think it should exclude. And look, I'm sure our ancestors were eating, some kind of grain too. And if you look at the studies, so
Hmm. Yeah, and one study they showed one of the oldest meals was a pancake they made out of like lentils. So they found these as almost like a pancake where they mashed up lentils and tubers and things like that to make this pancake. And it was back in Neanderthal days. And so to say that people didn't eat these things way back then is wrong because
yeah,
they did. Yeah.
yeah, we're not made to just live on meat alone. Those diets, those are fad diets for sure. And I think that in the coming years, we're going to see the negative health consequences. There was some doctor that he's a YouTube guy. He was on carnivore diet and he used to, teach that. And he come out, I think 2 weeks ago, saying that it was messing his health up. Well, duh.
Right. Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I mean, come on, it should be a no-brainer. You can't just live on meat alone.
Right, right. You have to have the fiber. You have to get all the nutrients and things that we can't get from the animal products. And you have to
Yeah.
have a really strong constitution. You have tons of hydrochloric acid and bile and the finely tuned bile duct to be able to break down that much meat. And the older you get, the harder that is. And so, yeah, that's crazy.
Oh yeah. You're just
Yeah,
asking for health problems if you do
right,
that. I mean, it's just,
right.
and
I'm
you might
picturing.
lose weight, but
Mhm. Major
some people don't.
inflammation, gallstones. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And now eating all animal products for somebody who has um intestinal permeability, like severe, where they just can't keep food down, it just passes right through them. Sometimes people start feeling better when they eat all carnivore because they're not putting the fiber in there, but they're not helping with the inflammation. And so they may be feeling better, but then they can't go back to adding regular foods until they work on what the real problem is. And adding more animal products is fueling the problem. It's not actually helping, even though it feels better because you don't have the fiber in there. So there are you work with somebody who can help you add foods back so that you can start getting the vitamins and minerals that you're missing when you're eating all of those animal products.
Yeah. Like you're saying, some people do start to feel better, but then a few months down the line, a few years down the line, they're going to start to have health problems pop up. That usually happens to most people. So, If you're gonna
Yes.
do that, I would recommend getting your blood work done. If you're gonna go carnivore, get a baseline
Yes. Amen. Yeah. Find
and
out.
check it in 6 months to a year and see what's happening.
Yes. Yeah. Definitely get
Because
a,
it's a it's an experiment. It's a new thing. It's ridiculous, but
it makes me
whatever, you know.
nervous. Yeah. The long-term effects,
Yeah.
especially on the heart and cardiac risk. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So for me, a whole food plant-based diet is the most sustainable, most nutrient rich, the most health protective, disease preventative way to go. And the most, if you can eat it minimally processed, no fake burgers, no Oreos, no highly processed foods, real whole foods, that is, you're going to live a long time and be strong and healthy and have a lot of energy.
Yeah. Yeah, this diet, the plant-based has been correlated with more longevity. Of course, that makes sense. You know, that's the latest
Mhm.
findings. And I really think the older we get, the more the plant-based diet it becomes more important because it's an easier diet to digest. It's not full of foods that cause inflammation. And the older we get, we become more inflamed just with age. For some reason, the older we get, our bodies produce more inflammation. So we need to do things that help, you know, get rid of that because that's the driver of most of our diseases, heart disease, diabetes, cancer, autoimmune problems. You have to get rid of the inflammation.
Right. Right. Yeah, so share your views on the plant-based versus paleo diet. We want to hear from you. Subscribe to our channel, share this with our friends, and let's drum up more conversation about this. And I love to hear, even if you don't agree with us, I want to hear from you and know what part of this struck you. What did you learn something? Did you not learn something? And you know, we think it's a great thing to discuss. So thank you for joining us.